Can you see the screen, guys?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. So in the last session, I asked you guys to go through the sorting algorithm. I think the last time you guys read the quick sort as well as the merge sort. Any doubts on the quick sort and the merge sort as such? Are we clear on the merge sort and quick sort? Right. Since nobody is saying, I mean, we are clear. So next thing we talk about is searching an element in an array, suppose. Suppose if you have to search an element in the array, right, and you have not been given any information about the array, so it is a random array like this, 5 to something like this. And suppose I have to search 4 in this array, right? If it is a random array and I have to search any element in this particular array, and I don't have any information about it, the only way that I can do is I have to go to each of the element and check whether the 4 is present or not. So whether first I'll come to the 0th element, then I'll come to the first, then I come to the second, then I come to third. So like this, I have to iterate through each of the element to find that element. Right? Iterate through each element. I have to iterate through each element to find the element. Right. So what was the time complexity of this one?
Order upin.
Very nice. Cool. So now this is the basic concept. This is the basic foundation and on which the multiple type of questions can come in. Just like, for example, when you are studying in the 12th, force is equal to mass into acceleration was a basic concept, right? And on that, all the other complex questions would be formed. So basically, in the searching questions, this is the foundation. This is the basic, which is very basic, right? But as you move on, you have to apply it in the different ways to solve more complex questions, right? So let's try to see a variation of that, right? So the first variation that I can see is that what if array is sorted? So even if the array is sorted, if you go through this, you will still get the answer, right? But since now I have got some additional information, right? The additional information is the array is sorted. So can I do something to improve the complexity? Can you guys think of anything? What do we do to search an element if the array is sorted?
Sir, I will go to the middle value.
So basically, you are trying to say you will do binary search, right?
Binary search.
Yes.
Right. So basically, the array is sorted, then I go for a binary search, right? And binary search, how we do? So there can be two ways to do the binary search. One is iterative, and the second one can be recursive. I'll write quickly the code of iterative one, and the recursive I want you guys to try on your own. So for example, I can write the function like this: public boolean, or I want to return the index where it exists. So and find element, and then it is array. I'm just writing the pseudo code, guys, so that this makes sense. Now while left is less than right. Now tell me, the left should be less than right or left should be less than equal to right? And what difference will it make? The left should be less than right or less than equal to right, and what difference it makes? Anybody? So when left, if you write the condition left is less than right, in this case, you are ensuring that there are at least two elements. Then only you will try to figure it out. But when you say left is less than equal to right, even if there is only one element, then also you are trying to ensure that you are trying to search. So ideally, we should put left is less than equal to right. And there. Okay, so what we are doing is that to do a binary search, basically we need an array and we need to have two endpoints, the left point and the right point. And we always try to figure out what is the middle. Okay. And once we have a middle, we try to compare it with a number. And if it is equal to the number, we return that middle index. Otherwise, if it is not, there are two possibilities. Either it is more than the number or it is less than the number. If it is more than the number, it means the number that I'm looking for should be in the left part of the array, left half of the array. So I reduce the right to mid minus 1. And otherwise, my number will be lying in the right half of the array. So I make left equal to mid plus 1. So you can see that, whenever I'm running this loop, now if I have to find the time complexity of this loop, I have to figure out how many times this loop is running, right? How many times this loop is running. Now, since I see that, every time the size of this whole array is reduced by half, right? Either I'm checking the first half of the array or the second half of the array. Every time it is getting reduced by half. So that is why the time complexity is log of n. So that is why when you do a search in a sorted array using the binary search, you get the time complexity as log of n. So this I have done. As a assignment, you should try the recursive approach of the binary search as an assignment. Any doubt on this?
I'm good.
Cool. So this is the first variation of the question, and we'll just keep on improving the complexity of the question. The second variation of the question that can come is that based on the binary search that we have read, what you can ask me that questions based on. So what is the meaning of a rotation? So suppose, for example, initially you have the array like this 2, 3, 4. Now this array can be rotated both clockwise and anti-clockwise. So suppose if it is rotated clockwise, the clockwise means left to right, in this direction, left to right. So if it is rotated clockwise, if I'm rotating clockwise, it will become equals to 5 and then 1, 2, 3. If I rotate it one more time, then it will become equals to 4, 5 and then 1, 2, 3. Similarly, if I anti-clockwise means I'm rotating it right to the left, right? From the right to the left, it means right to left. And the first time if I rotate, it will become 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And it can be like again 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So this is the meaning of the rotation. And then rotation is again a very famous or a very favorite topic of the interviews. So let's try to understand what are the different questions that can be asked as a part of the rotation. And when you are saying rotation, it will involve the concepts around sorting. It will involve the concepts around the previous array manipulation thing that we have seen. So what kind of question that can be asked? So what kind of question is that you will be told an array is rotated unknown number of times. Say, okay. Question is, you have been told that you have been given an array which was initially sorted, but then some random guy came and rotated the array unknown number of times, say clockwise. Okay, so the array was rotated unknown number of times clockwise. Say clockwise also I mentioned. You have to tell me how many times it was rotated. Okay, you got the question? It is for everyone, guys. Can you guys think of? So you have been given an array which was initially sorted, and then a person came and it rotated the array unknown number of times, right? Say k times it was rotated. After rotating the array, you don't know what was the initial state. You are only knowing that it was initially sorted. That is the only thing that you know. And after that, it was rotated unknown number of times. That array has been given to you, and now you have that rotated array. Now, what you have to tell me is that what is that number of times that this array has been rotated? How many times this array has been rotated? Can you figure it out? Can you guys think of any logic how we can solve it?
I mean, can we do like this? Suppose the unsorted array what we have currently, if we again sort that array and get back that array into the initial position, then we can know that how many times that array was.
Perfect. I think this works. I think Parito, this works. So what you have suggested is that sort and then one after after another rotate. Okay. So basically the sorting will, so this involves sorting, so this will take n log n complexity. And then again you have to rotate it, say, rotate it multiple times. Okay. So again this will take, if we are rotating k time, that will take n into k time complexity, right? So basically the total time complexity is, because n log n and n into k is, if you take sum both, higher order will take the preference, so the time complexity will be order of n into k itself. So basically a quadratic time complexity. So this will work, no doubt, but this will have a brute. This is a brute force approach. This is a brute force approach because it will take lots of time. Anybody else? Very nice. At least you have solved this question, so at least I appreciate that.
Yeah. Like we can go through the array and check where the one element is greater than the next element.
One element is greater than the next element.
Oh, sorry, less than. Like suppose we have 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. It will be like 4 will be less than 5. If we go to the next element I and we compare with 1, then 5 will be greater than 1. So we can.
With that, how do we define? How do we know that how many times it has been rotated?
So the index of that element will give that how many times it is rotated.
Okay. Perfect. I think he has made a perfect point. So normally what happens is that if the array was initially sorted, what it means is that the smallest element will be at the starting position, right, at the index 0. Now, as and when we keep on rotating the array, the smallest position will keep on moving to the right one after the another. So for example, if you see in this, the first example that I told you, right, I'll again copy it here. Initially, the array was like this. So the smallest element 1 is at the position 0. When I rotated it once, it went to the position 1. When I rotated it twice, it went to the position twice, right? So what it means is that when I'm rotating an array clockwise, the number of times that I'll rotate is that many number of times the position of the smallest element will go to in the right hand direction. So if we take it in the reverse order, I can say that if I know this assumption that initially the array was sorted and it has been rotated clockwise. So if I figure it out, what is the index of the smallest element? What is the index of a smallest element? I can say that many times the array has been rotated, right? For example, in this case, the index of the 1 is 1. So I can say that it has been rotated one time. Similarly, in this, the index of 1 is 2, right? So I can say that it has been rotated 2 times, right? So basically the algorithm comes out what? Find the index of smallest element, and that is the number of, find the index of the smallest element, and that is the number of times it is rotated. This is the algorithm that you have to use. But what if, is it clear, guys? Everybody clear?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Now the question is how to find the index of smallest element. Now your total time complexity depends on how intelligently you are trying to figure it out. What is the index of the smallest element? Can you guys tell me how will you find the index of the smallest element? So given an array which is not sorted, it was initially sorted and now it has been rotated k times. You have to tell me what is the index of the smallest element. How do we find it?
Like I will run a one for loop, and using that I will find the index. Yeah, iterate.
This is one approach, and the time complexity of this would be how much, Manoj?
Of n.
Okay, perfect. So this is what you have done. Anybody else can think of anything? Just try to think. And the answer, and since I'm asking you, so it's very obvious that there is something else extra that I want you guys to reveal. And the answer somewhere lies in the things that we have already talked so far. Okay.
What if we to find the minimum value, if we can somehow do that a binary search type?
Perfect. Yes. So how do we do the binary search then?
So like as you explained that we'll take the midpoint and then we'll compare with every part and if we get what the number we are looking out for.
Perfect. So I think your idea is very nice. So basically, see, even if it was a normal array with no information given to you, whether it's a sorted or a not sorted, this approach one will anyway work. Right? This will anyway work in any kind of array. So given any array, if you have to find the minimum element in that array, you can do it by doing a single iteration. But what advantage did you get with the additional information that you have, right? You have an additional information, and that additional information is that this array was initially sorted, okay, and then it was rotated, right? So anywhere in the question, whenever you hear a term called sorted, one thing that should sparkle your mind, one should that blink into your mind at the very first go is that somehow binary search should come into the play. As soon as there is a sorted keyword in a question that is mentioned, you should at least think once to go in the direction of the binary search, right? And I know this array was initially sorted. Right now, the array in the hand is not sorted, and we know that binary search only applies on a sorted array, and it is now rotated, so it's no more sorted. That is true, but I have one information that initially it was sorted. So we should at least try to think once that can binary search be applied here. Now, for applying a binary search, what are the things that is needed? The first and important thing is that you should have a sorted array, which is not available here. The second thing that is needed is that you should know what is the starting point and what is the end point of the array, which you know here, right? But we still have this little information that it was initially sorted, right? So can we try something to tweak the initial binary search code, right? So initial binary search code was what? So my initial binary search code is this one, okay? And in this case, the whole array was sorted, and how I was returning the result, I was returning the result based on this condition. When the array of mid is equal to the number that we are looking for, that is when we are returning the result. But in this case, can I apply the same binary search? We can, but we'll have to tweak our binary search a little, right? So in this case, what I'm looking for, initially in the previous binary search, I have been given a number and I was looking for that, right? But in this case, if I have to apply a binary search, I have to look for the another condition, what that condition is. Let's try to understand that first. So for example, if the array is rotated, for example, k times. So for example, in this, the array has been rotated 2 times. What you see is that the first part is also sorted, the second part is also sorted. The first part is also sorted, the second part is also sorted, and the index at which the smallest element lies, that is the only index where the left of it is also greater than that particular element and the right of it is also greater than that particular element. Got my point? So this is an array which is, rotated. So in the rotated array, in clockwise rotated array at index of smallest element, say I, right? Array of I minus 1 will be greater than array of I, and array of I plus 1 will also be greater than array I. This is, sorry, I plus 1. So this is the smallest indexes will be the only index where you will find this condition that both the left and the right is greater than it. Apart from that, the left will be always smaller and the right will be always greater, right? So this is the condition which we'll have to utilize, and based on this condition, we'll have to apply the binary search. Okay, so what we can do, if I have to write a pseudocode for this, public int minimum index, and here again I do int left equals to 0 and right equals to array dot. I'll just copy this code from here. Now here my condition is now different. Instead of doing this check, what I'll do is this: array mid is greater than array mid plus 1, and array mid is greater than array mid minus 1. If this is the condition, I should return the mid, right? Now I have to think about this else if and else part also. Can you tell me what should be right in the else if and the else if part? So this is the condition where you will find the mid value, which is the index of the smallest element. But if you don't find it, how do you divide it into the two parts? How do you decide whether you have to go into the left or the right?
Vishwa, I have one doubt here.
Yeah.
In the first line, right, array of mid is greater than mid plus 1. No, there only.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And array of mid is greater than again array of mid minus 1.
Sorry, it should be small.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry for that. Yeah. So just to pull it up.
Okay.
So this is the case when I, figure it out. So suppose my array was and suppose it is rotated 3 times. If I rotate 3 times, it will become 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After rotating, this is the condition it will be right. And in this case, if I go and find the middle one, so there are how many elements? 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 8 elements, and if I do by 4, it will come out as this one. 8 by 4, fourth element is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one I'll get is 2. Now once I get 2, I'll try to figure out this condition, but this is not true. So I have to now move either in this direction or I have to move into this direction. How do I decide that? What condition should I put in here? What condition should I put it in the else if?
You need to check whether the array of mid is greater than the mid plus 1 or not for that particular part.
Okay, array of mid is greater than array of mid plus 1. This is what you're saying. So array of mid is greater than array of mid plus 1. But this will never happen, right? Because the array is rotated in a clockwise manner only at the position where the smallest element is there. This is possible. Otherwise, the left part is also always sorted, right? If you see this, the left part is also sorted. So suppose this was rotated 3 times, so it will become. Now this is the smallest index, right? Apart from this to this also, it is always sorted. So always the right element will be more than the left element, and this part is also sorted. The right element is more than the left element. The only place where the right element is smaller than the left element is when you find the 0th element. This is the only position in the whole array where your right index. So the array mid will be greater than array mid plus 1 only at the position. So this, if you try look for this will only happen when you have found that smallest element, right?
Okay.
I think you're moving in the right direction. You just have to look for the right condition. The first time when you came inside the loop, right, you find the mid value here. So in this array, if you see the problem that I have given, the mid position is this one, 4th, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the value at the mid position at the array mid is 2, right? And if I do a 2 is not satisfying this condition, whatever I have written in the if condition, right? So now once I'm here as a mid 2, next time either I should go in this direction or I should go in this direction, right? It is looking that I should go in this direction, then only I'll find 1, otherwise I'll not find 1. So what is that condition that I should put in the if block so that I skip this part and I only go in this part?
And okay, Vishwa, suppose if array dot mid is less than array of mid minus 1 in that case?
If array of mid is
less than
array of,
then will
so it is again that is the same condition. No? If array of mid is less than array of mid minus 1, that is only possible in one case, and that case will be for the smallest index, which
Okay.
I'm already keeping here now.
Okay, fine.
So now I know that this is not the condition. This is not the condition. Now I only have to take a call that should I go to the left of mid or should I look at the right of the mid. Right. This is my only concern. So what we can do in that case is we can figure it out. Now what I see is if the value that I have got, at the mid position, if it is greater than the value at the start position. if the value of the mid was greater than the start position, it means from the start till the mid, this value was increasing. Can you say that? If I say that if value of mid is greater than value of array left, if suppose this is the condition, it means that it is increasing and increasing and increasing, right? So in this part, from the from the left till the mid, everything is increasing. So no value has gone down. So this part I can discard and I can do that left is equal to mid plus 1. Otherwise, right is equal to mid minus 1. Did you get it? What we did? What I'm saying is, if we check the value of the mid and the extreme left, and the value of the mid is more than the value of the left, in that case, this has been an increasing sequence. So if it has been an increasing sequence, there has been no value in between which could have been smaller than that. It means the value that I'm looking for will not lie in this range, it will lie in the right hand range. So if this is the case, I just move left is equal to mid plus 1. Otherwise, it could have lied in the left range itself. So I do right equals to mid minus 1. And this is a very strong concept, man, right? Direct binary search application you will find in very small set of questions. Mostly you will have to modify a binary search to apply in these kind of scenarios. Wherever you get a smell of there's something sorted, or it was initially sorted, or it can be sometimes sorted, right? Always try to think that there is something like binary search which can apply in that particular question. And binary search, again, just like recursion, is a very strong concept. Right? So with this, what we have seen is that initially the time that it wanted, if I do it like this, the time complexity was linear. But if I can find, the second approach that I can try is that to find the index smallest element using binary search, and the complexity will be log n. So in that case, in the log n time complexity, you can tell that how many times the array has been rotated. So this is the first concept around the rotation. So this is typically a pattern of the binary search. In any binary search, you will always try to go either in the first half, or you either want to go into the second half of the array. And this is how you should proceed. But the only thing that we have to keep point that you keep in mind is that you have to be very intelligent in figuring out these conditions. If you are able to figure out these conditions, your job is done. And then you can use binary search in many other contexts also. So in the seat also, I have given you multiple questions where you have to apply the binary search, modified binary search at the multiple positions. And if you solve those questions, I think these things will get clearer. Okay. Second one is rotate an array k time. So for example, your array has been given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and suppose I have to rotate it 3 times, right? So first of all, it will become 2, 3. Suppose clockwise, if I'm rotating, so it will become 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again it will become 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then again one time more I have to rotate, so it will become 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So this is how I rotate it. Can you tell me how do we write the code to rotate the array? If you have been given an array and you have been told that you have to rotate it k times, how will you rotate it?
Yeah, so first I will write the loop for till k, and then like rotation as you said, so we'll go with clockwise, right?
Till k. And then inside this, you write another for loop?
Yeah, to swap.
So what is the time complexity of this one?
Nk.
Order of n into. So this is also quadratic, basically quadratic. So if I have to write this, right? So I can simply write this to make it more sense. I equals to 0, I is less than k, I plus plus. So equals to 0, k is less than n. Tell me what should I write inside this? So I've written like this. Can you guys help me with the code? What should I write? Is the condition both the for loops correct, or I have to make any changes in this? If I have to rotate the array, you have to be like you said that I have to write for 2 for loops, right? I have written it 2 for loops. And what should I write the code inside this? Can you guys help me with that?
Yeah, so I feel like we can take a temp variable and store the 0th position value there.
Okay. Here,
Yep.
after that,
So we are going from left to right. So one by one, right? So array of I is equal to array of I plus one, and then in array of I we'll use the temp variable.
like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Array of j basically you meant,
Yeah.
right?
Sorry. Yeah.
And then
And then use the temp variable in that.
here you want me to write array of j equals to 10.
Yeah.
If I do this, don't you think that this will simply overwrite? Initially, I'm putting array of j equal to array of j plus 1, and then I'm putting array of j equals to temp. So basically, temp will overwrite the value which you stored in the previous statement. See, I have this one. I think with this you get the better picture. So I have this array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, suppose. Okay. Right. So 2 times suppose if I rotate. So the first time if I rotate, the 5 should come at the first position at 1, 2, 3. Right. And the second time when I rotate, then again the 4 should come at the first position at 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Now with this hint, can you tell me what should be the? I think Paritosh, you are thinking right. You are thinking very right. But what you have asked me to write is that here the temp will store value is 1, and if this is the inner for loop, the j value is 0. So initially, it will what it will do this at this statement, it will convert this. It will convert this into, if I do this, the array j which is 0 and j plus 1 is 1. So it will convert this into this. So one position will also become 2. And then again here when you do, it will convert this back to. So now at this time the array is this one. It will convert back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody else meanwhile? Manoj, Vivek, Jahir, any change that we can do in this code? We have to write 2 for loop. That is correct. I just want to know the condition that what you guys will put in here to rotate the. Okay. So basically what we have to do is that in every iteration, all the elements should go one position right, and the last element should come at the 0th position, right? This is what we're doing. So all the position 1 went one position right, 2 went one position right, 3 went one position right, 4 went one position right, and the last element came to the 0th position.
If I can just add another point.
Sorry, that's why.
So I was thinking that the third line array of j is equal to temp. The last element should come here every time, and we should reverse that this array of j plus 1 is equal to array of j.
Okay, let's try to do this. And here I do array of array of array dot. This is what you said. And
Yes.
so now I don't need a temp variable. I think you're thinking in the right direction. In fact, most of you guys are thinking in the right direction. It's just that. So when you start programming and you are not very much used to writing the more data structure problems, sometimes the thoughts will come in your mind, but you will not be able to write it in the in the code terms. I think that is the problem right now we are facing. So as and when move, so our target should be this only. As soon as the thought comes in your mind, you should be able to write that in the terms of the code. And the day you achieve it, that is then when you can solve any problem. So let me jump into this. So basically what we can do is just try to see before this and this. First try to understand the what we need to do. First try to understand the logic in the terms of the words, and then we'll try to write the code for it. So the logic here is, if I'm rotating, just try to see the pattern. Every time in one single rotation, every element has moved to the right. Right? 1 has moved to the this, 2 has also moved one position right, 3 has also moved to the one position right, 4 has also moved to the one position right. And the last element comes to the first position. This is what is happening. Again, from here to here, every element has moved. 5th has moved to one position, 1 has moved one position, 2 has moved one position, 3 has also moved one position to the right, and the last element which was present in this array, which was 4, has come to the first position, right? So what we can do here is that first of all, let's try to figure it out. What is the last position here? So in temp, I can store as the last element array dot length minus 1. This is the last position. Okay, and inside this, I can go for the second last element. And what I do is that I do that array of j plus 1 is equals to array of j. This I do, and once this loop completes, I simply say array of is equal to 10. Now let's try to write run and see this in the same question. First of all, this was my initial array, right? The temp value at this will be 5. First time when it came inside this. Now what I'm doing is in this loop, every next element I'm setting the first element. So after this loop is completed, this will be something like this. This will be 1, and then it will be 1. This will be 2. This will be 3. This will be 2, 4, like this. So this array will get converted like this, and then you replace it with this one, so it becomes 5. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then same thing gets repeated. So if you do this, you will be able to rotate the k times in the clockwise direction. But the problem with this approach is the time complexity is O of n into k, which is a quadratic time complexity. I see a problem in this. Can you guys tell me what is the problem in this? Whatever that I said in this will not happen. Can you tell me what is the problem? What I have written here, what the wrong that will happen is, if I write a code like this, okay, suppose it is, just abstract it out. Okay. And suppose the array is 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose simple example of this one. If I do array of j is equal to array of j, first time when it happened, right? So this will convert this array into from this array. So basically, first position will get replaced by the second position. So it will come as like 1, and then 1, right? Then 3, and then comma 4. Right? This is converted into this one, right? When the second time it happens, right? So now I have this array, right? Now the 3 position will be replaced by the previous position. So this will become like this: 1, comma 1, comma 1, comma 4. And when the next time, when another iteration will happen, this will convert this into 1, comma 1, comma 1, comma. This is how the array will get formed. But this is not what I expected. I wanted this 1, 2, 3, 4 should be like this: 1, comma 1, comma 2, comma 3. This is what I wanted the array to get formed in it, right? So this is not right. The code that I have written here is not right. What should I do to correct this? What I can do is that instead of moving to the left, I should write something like this: j equal to array dot length minus 1. J is greater than 0 and j minus minus. And what I do is that array of j equal to array of j minus 1. If I do this, then it will be fine. I'll get this one. Make sense? In that case, every element will be the different, right? So if we solve this, this will get solved in O of nk. This will get solved in O of nk time, right? But again, this is not something which I'm very happy with, because it's a quadratic time complexity. Just for rotating array, if you take a quadratic time complexity, this is not good. Can you think of anything else apart from this? Guys, itna sannata kyun hai? What happened? Paritosh, anything that you can think of? Just think anything wild. I am totally fine. Just try to think anything. Right? Just try to keep your thought process on, and just let me know that what you are thinking, because I really want to understand that in which directions you are thinking around, because this is very important. Getting answer is not at all something I am concerned at. I'm only concerned about that you guys are at least thinking. You are at least thinking loud in the different directions. That is only my expectation is. And I encourage all of you guys, so whatever I have done it here, iteratively, do the same thing recursively, please. So this will be your assignment. The same code that I have written is iteratively. You have to convert that into the recursion and write it recursively. So any question that we do iteratively, always try to write a recursive version of that, because this will help you to gain a greater hold on the recursion. The reason I'm emphasizing much is that now you will not realize, but as soon as we start the topic like tree, graph, and dynamic programming, the more comfortable you are in the recursion, the easier that chapters will become for you, right? So we have to keep practicing recursion from the now itself. Cool. Then another way of doing it is that I'll try to give you a little hint. Can we apply some kind of concept of reversal, the reversal concept? Can we apply something? Do you see any relationship between the reversing and the rotation? Try to correlate between these two concepts. You reverse something and then you rotate something. So I'm just giving you this hint. and I want you guys to think around this. So if you can find a correlation between these two, you can solve this problem in the linear time. So this is a hint, and I want you guys to try it as an assignment. In the next class, if you're not able to do, we'll try to discuss it. But don't look at the internet, because once you do look at the internet, you get the answer. The whole purpose of all this exercise will get defeated. So don't try to look on the internet. Try to think on your own. I have given you enough hint. Try to take it as a treasure hunt. Again, you have got enough hint. You have to just crack this code. Right? So you have to correlate between the reversal of an array and the rotation of the array. And if you find any relationship, I think you can use this concept to rotate the array itself. Cool. So the next thing that I want to, so now I think we have time and we'll try to discuss the seed. So I'll try to go through each of the questions in the last seed. And okay, but before that, I'll tell you one thing. One very interesting thing which happened to me yesterday. What I've realized is that, most of the folks here who is there in the market, they are looking desperately for the job. They're looking desperately for the change. But no one has a time, or no one is, have a time to read through things thoroughly and then do. So for example, I'll just show you one post that I put on the LinkedIn yesterday. I'll just share it, and then you'll realize what I'm trying to tell you guys. So I wrote one post yesterday on the LinkedIn. Actually, I keep on writing the post. Okay, so just go through it, what I have written. So in throughout the post, I have specifically mentioned that you should avoid the people who are, write things like put interested in the comments, because most of these folks will not help you at all, and they're just there to, increase their, connection counts or their traction on the LinkedIn or something like that. And specifically, I have mentioned that, if you're trying to make your resume, these are the 5 points that you should follow, which will help you to get a better resume. You don't have to take help of anybody else, but this is what you should do. And to my surprise, like 99% of people, they didn't even care to read all, and they just saw this is interested, and they started posting interested in my comments. If you can see, 95% of people are just writing interested and interested. More than 200 people have commented, and they all are writing interested and interested. So this is a funny fact. So what I mean to say is that, if you're so much die-hard, looking for a job change, try to be very sincere about where you are looking at and what you are looking at. This is very important. What is the hurry that even if you not read the 4 lines and you just put it interested, like you just have read my bio, or maybe just I have written interested and you felt, okay, I'll get something and just put interested. This is not how we should be taking the life, or taking any of our decisions. We should be very careful and pragmatic about what I'm doing and what I'm not. Right. So this I just wanted to. So this is what the condition right now. Right? So even if you see in this highly competitive world and so many people are trying to get a job, trust me, 95% of the folks are just like that. They are not your competitors at all if you are little serious about doing your things. So you don't have to worry about those are stupid people, 95% of the janta, because they don't know what they're doing actually. They're just blindly following this rat race. So if you have to make a difference from the other folks who are actually looking for the job, the only thing that you need to do is that be a little sincere. Just try to follow the things in the proper way, and trust me, it will just land you a very nice job, a dream job, in very easily. Because the other folks, they are just there to increase the count. And I just saw you, right? They don't have enough time, or they don't have enough, thing to at least read through it and what is there. And just blindly saying interest, and it will not make any, I have written all the 5 points that you have to go through to write a good resume, but they're not interested in that. They won't want to do anything on their own. They just want that, okay, there's somebody who can do something free for them, and they're just waiting for that thing to happen. And that is like 99%. So out of 200 comments so far, I just wrote this post like yesterday evening, and there's so 200 people have, commented. Only I think 10% of that folks have seen that, not even 10%, like 2 or 3% of people have read it full, and they have said, okay, I'll follow this. Other have just written interested, so that there's some ready-made solution that Vishwa will give, and they will just run over it. So that is the point I wanted to keep you guys. So be very much focused, understand that what you are doing, and only when you understand what you are doing, you'll be able to make something out of it. If you are doing something just for following a rat race, I think that will not help you guys. Make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. So let's move to the seed then, which I gave you last time. Okay. So the first question, right? How many have you solved it? I'll just go through the hint of each of this question as a list in the start. I think that should work. Can you quickly tell me what is the approach? Manoj, can you first? I'll start with you. What is the approach that you tried, Manoj?
Yeah, so what I did was like first I wrote a for loop. In that, I found the maximum value and the minimum value of that array. After that, I came out of the loop and I again wrote one more for loop. And in that, if the array of I, like the first element, like I'm iterating one by one. If it is the maximum value which I have right now in my hand is, then just make a swap of it. So the max is will be placed at the first position of the array, and same for the min as well. So in this way only I did.
So what is the time complexity of this one, Manoj?
Okay, so first will be n, and then yeah, I think n only.
It will be not n, right?
Sorry.
N square, right?
Yes. We are writing two loops. Okay, sorry.
Okay. So be very clear about this time complexity.
Yes. N is square.
We have
Correct.
solved so many complex time complexity questions. This is very simple, so you shouldn't do wrong in this one. Right? Okay. So Paritosh, is it same or you have tried something different?
Yeah, like I have what I did, I sorted the array, and
Very
then I took the right hand side and the left hand side. So I incremented and decremented, and based on that, I got these values.
Perfect. I think this is right. So because in that case, what will the time complexity if you do the sorting? Paritosh, what was the time complexity in that case?
So if I do a quick sort where the time complexity is n log n.
Perfect. Yes. So
So
the key is, yes, I got your point, Paritosh. So basically, we should do a merge sort or quick sort, which is n log n. And if you do a sorting and then do it, the time complexity will come at n log n. Manoj, your approach was right, but that is a brute force way of doing it. So we can always optimize it. We can sort the array first. What we do is that we sort the array first, and then you take the last element of the array, which will be the largest, and then take the first element. So it will be the smallest. Then you take the second last element, and you take the second element. Then you take the third largest element, and the third last element, and you take the third element. Then you take the fourth last, and then you take the fourth element, and you keep on doing like this once you have iterated it through the complete array. So this will alternatively sort your array in the n log n time. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now the question number 2, I think we can park it question number 2 as of now. Okay, because this involves something called priority queue, which we have not studied so far. So just park this question number 2 as of now. We'll come back to this when we study the priority queue and the heap in the future. Question number 3. Anybody who has solved this question number 3? So basically the idea that we have to use in this question is that first of all you have to find the absolute difference for each of the elements. So I have an array 10, 5, 3, 9, 2, and with 7 if I have to find, the absolute difference will come at like 3, 2, 4, 2 and 5, right? And now somehow I have to maintain this mapping between the initial element and the absolute difference. Okay, so I should have a mapping corresponding to each of the absolute difference. I should know, like for example, 7 and 10, absolute difference is 3. So I should know 3 is pointing to 10. Similarly, 7 and 5 difference is 2. So the 2 is pointing to 5. So I should have a mapping which maintains this relationship between the absolute difference and the actual element it is for. Okay. And then what we need to do, we just need to sort the absolute difference, and accordingly you will have to change the position of the actual element. This is the only logic that you guys have to apply. So please try this question again based on this logic, and only if you are not able to solve it, let me know. We'll solve it in the session. Okay, this is the logic. Clear? What you need to do, you need to find the absolute difference of each of the element. Try to maintain a mapping between the absolute difference and the actual elements. Sort on the basis of the absolute difference, and accordingly change the position of the actual elements also. When the absolute difference is sorted, the array you get of the actual element will be your answer. Right. So this is what you have to do in this one.
In this problem, actually, I used dictionary. Dictionary, like in Java, it is known as hashmap.
Yeah, you can use dictionary, no problem. Yeah, you can use dictionary in that
So
case.
what I did that I used a key value pair.
Okay.
Based on that, I sorted the array. Like what I did, I had used a dictionary and the index, the value, and the absolute difference in the dictionary, and then based on that, I have sorted the array.
Okay, that makes sense. But what I'll encourage you guys to use is that since we have not studied map or dictionary as of now, which we'll cover in the coming sessions, in the future sessions. So far, we have only studied about the array. So can you think of using a 2-dimensional array where the first column will be the key and the second column can act as a value, and try to use just a 2-dimensional array to solve this instead of using anything that we have not studied so far? I understand like solving this using dictionary, you can solve it. There's no problem in it. But I want you guys to only use those things which we have covered so far. So we have only covered about the array. So instead of using a dictionary kind of data structure or a key value kind of data structure in any other of the language, can you just use two-dimensional array where the first column is basically the difference, absolute difference, and the second column will point to the actual elements. Can we do that?
Yeah, we'll try.
Sure, Vishwa. Sure.
Yeah, please try that. Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 4. First of all, I explain the question and then I'll ask this question. So basically, what you have to do is that suppose this is the array that has been given. Okay, just like in the wave, what happens when you go to Goa and you are at the beach side, right? What happens? Sometimes the crest and the trough happens, right? The high tide and the low tide happens. So normally, what it is trying to say is that all the elements of the odd position should be more than the elements at the even position. Sorry, element at the even position is more than the element at the odd position. So the 0 is 10 and even it is 5. So basically odd position is this one and it is more than both the even position element like 0 and the 2, and similarly like this. So it should like larger, smaller, larger, smaller like this. So first large, then small, then large, then small, then large, then small. Like this it should be formed. So this is the meaning of this question. You have been given any array like this and you have to convert into a waveform. So first the large element should be there, then the small, then again large, then again small, then again large, then again small. This is how you have to arrange it. This was the meaning. Make sense? Now, is it clear?
Sir, can we use question number first concept to this question?
Definitely you can use. Very nice. So what will you do in that case?
First, I will sort, then.
So in that case, the time complexity will be n log n. Very nice. You can solve it, but the time complexity is n log n. Can you think something better to improve the time complexity? Anybody who has solved this? What you need to do is that the first approach which Jahir has told, I think it's very nice and that will work. But that will take n log n time. If we have to improve it further, what we can do is that always try to focus to move from left to right and always try to focus only on the odd positions. So my first odd position is 1. So I came at 5. Now I see 5 is already smaller than both 10, both its neighbors. So it is smaller than 10, it is smaller than 6. I don't have to do anything. I jump to the second odd position element, which is 3. Now at the 3, I see 6 is greater than 3. I'm totally fine. But I see 2 is now smaller than 3. So what I do, I swap it. So I bring 2 here and 3 into the right. Right? And then again, I move to the 5th position. So what I need to do, you only go to all the odd positions and see if your neighbors are greater than you. If they are greater than you, you are all fine. If they are smaller than you, then swap with your neighbors. And this you can do in a linear time. And this way, if you do, you can sort it in the waveform. Make sense? Just try this out. What you need to do, go to all the odd positions, check your neighbors. If your neighbors are already greater than you, don't need to do anything. If your neighbors are smaller than you, then you just have to swap with your neighbor. And that's all that you have to do. So this can be done in a linear time. Make sense?
Yeah, Vishwa, but in that sense, suppose 1 is a very smallest number and it is lying in the last, then how we will bring it before? Because as I can see the other outputs like 10, 5, 6, 2,
Okay,
23.
tell me one. So let me do this. Tell me a kind of. Give me an array. Give me an array which you want me to do that.
Take the same array and put 1
Okay.
and 1 in the last.
Okay, 1 in the last, right? Like
Yeah.
this. So first I came at the I equals to 1.
1,
Okay?
yes.
So this is the position. This is already more than
This
10.
is correct. Yes, yes.
Doesn't work. Then I came at to I equals to 3. I came here. Now
Correct.
6 is greater than 3, no worries. 2 is now smaller than 3. So I repeat here. I bring 2 here, I bring 3 here. Then I came to 5. 5 is what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is like 20.
20.
20 is greater than 3. No, so this should not work. So I will bring 20 here and I'll bring 3 here.
Yes.
Right. Now 3 is smaller than 100. It's totally fine. I go to the 7. 7 is 80. Now 80 is smaller than 100. That is totally fine. But 80 is greater than 1. So what I do, I bring 1 here and I bring 80 here. Now you see it is in a waveform. Greater, smaller, greater, smaller, greater, smaller, greater, smaller, greater.
Yes, yes.
Right? So this way we can do with the linear time. Everybody is clear? Golo, Jahir, Manoj, Pradosh, Vivek, are we good?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then this question number 5. Okay. Question number 5 says that, again, I'll come here. Question number 5 says that, so suppose I have it is like this 1, 3, 5, 7. And so suppose this is of the size 4 and this is of the size say 4 plus 3. and then I have 2, 4, and 6. Okay. Now normally this is basically a extension of the merge sort. In the merge sort there is something called merge function, right? In the merge function basically you take two sorted arrays and merge it, right? And that happens in a linear time. Now in that case what you do, you use a temporary array to merge the two sorted arrays and then convert into a single array. This is what you do in the merge sort merge thing. Okay, in the case guys you have not clear, please go through the merge sort merge logic. How do we merge two sorted arrays in the merge sort? That is very important. And last time also I told you that nobody will ask you the merge sort directly, but there will be questions which will have the concept, you will utilize it. So this is the question which utilizes the concept of the merge sorting. But now the problem here is that you are not allowed to use any additional array to do the merging, because you have said that my first array is already having enough space to accommodate the elements from the second array, right? So the first element has space of 7, but it has only like 4 elements, and the second array has 3 elements. So you don't have to use any extra space, and you have to somehow put this into the first array and put it in such a way that the array is sorted. So it should become like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you guys think about this merge sort approach and then try it if you have not tried it again, because then it will strictly defeat the purpose of the question. So I want you guys to look at the merge sort again and try to apply this question. But when you're trying, don't try to blindly apply the merge sort, because this question is different from the merge sort. So what you have to do, you have to little modify the merge function of the merge sort to do it. So little think out of the box, try to tweak it a little and then apply in this question. Make sense? Shall we move to the next one? Will you guys try it again?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now, sort an array which contains 1 to n values. I think it's very simple. Did you guys try this?
So I did that, but what is the without replace with 1 to n numbers? Like, what exactly you mean with that?
So basically, it means to say that you don't, since it is 1 to n only, so they are telling you don't just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just print the number 1 to n. This is what they mean to say that. Instead of that, you can just use this. So what you can do is that you can just write a loop in which array I is equal to I plus 1. This if you do, then we'll create a sorted array. Array of I equal to I plus 1. That's all. Because the array I is 0 and the element at 0th position should be 1. So you just write a loop in which array of I is equal to I plus 1. So this will sort an array containing 1 to n values. Make sense? It's a very simple statement.
Yeah, fine.
Question number 7. Sort 1 to n by swapping in the adjacent elements. Okay. Now in this question, normally what we have seen, right? So again, you remember I put a stress on figuring out how many swappings are happening in the bubble sort or the any kind of sorting is there, right? So any kind of sorting algorithm that you do will require the swapping to happen. Whatever the sorting algorithm is, whether it's a bubble sort, selection sort, insertion sort, merge sort, quick sort, anywhere, you'll see that at some time we'll do some kind of swapping, right? Now this question says that there's an array that is given to you, and there's another array which says that whether the elements can be sorted or they cannot be sorted, right? So for example, if the bi is equal to 1, it means that ai can be swapped with ai plus 1. But if bi is equal to 0, it says that it cannot be swapped with another array. So you have to basically try, sorting the first array, and whenever you're sorting, some places you will have to swap it. And whenever this, whenever you want to swap the elements, you have to check the array B. And if it is 0, you're not allowed. So if you need to sort and you're not allowed, it means that you cannot sort the array. This is what you have to do in this question. So you have to, try to sort the array. And when you're trying to sort the array, before you're doing the logic of swapping, you have to check whether the swapping is allowed or not. If you have to swap and you're not allowed to swap, it means that it cannot be sorted. This is the meaning of this question. Now is it clear? Can you guys give it a try? What do you need to do? Try to sort the array, and while doing your sorting, you have to always swap it, right? So before swapping, you go and check in the array B whether this swapping that I'm trying to do is allowed or not. If it is allowed, I'm totally fine. If it is not allowed, then I'll say this cannot be swapped. Make sense? Is it clear, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Sort an array containing 2 types of the elements. Okay, now this is only 0 and 1 is there. There can be multiple ways of solving it. Anybody solve this question number 8?
We can have left index and right index. If in left index, if we found 1, and in right index, if we found 0, then we can swap this.
Very nice. So this is known as the 2-pointer approach, and this is a very strong concept. In the next session, I'll actually try to solve a problem with the 2-pointer approach and explain it, because this is very important. What happens in 2-pointer approach? You keep 2 pointers, one in the left part of the array, one in the right part of the array. And you keep moving from left to right till you find 0, and you keep moving from right to left till you find 1. And as soon as you find 1 in the left and 0 in the right, you swap it. right? And this is how you do. So if you do this way, you can sort the array in a linear time in a single traversal, So this is how we do question number 8. Question number 9, sort by element by frequency. Now again, this question is similar to the question that we discussed, in which we have to sort elements by the difference, right? We discussed about the question, right? Sort an array according to the absolute difference. Question number 3, right? The similar concept we can apply here in the question number 9. Here the only thing is that instead of the absolute difference, we have the frequency. So we should create a mapping between the frequency and each of the element. Then we sort it with the help of the frequency and then get the result. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now question number 10. Anybody tried question number 10? Question number 10. The question simply means that, whenever you have an array, right? Whenever you have an array and whenever you have to do a swapping. When you do a swapping, we do a swapping when the right element is smaller than the left element, right? That is only when we do a swapping. And that swapping is what they call it as an inversion, right? So basically you have to figure it out, given an array, how many times in that array you will have to do the swapping. This is what you have to figure it out and tell. So it is saying, formally speaking, in an array you have to figure it out how many times the swappings is going to happen, right? And if you can tell the number of swapping that can happen while sorting the array, this will give you the count of inversion. So basically you have to tell the number of swappings. And again, I stressed a lot when I was talking about the sorting algorithm, in which I told you that how many times the swappings are happening. So if you apply the same concept here, if you try to figure it out, find the exact count of how many swappings happened, that will give you the count inversions in an array. Make sense? But when you're doing this, you have to do it efficiently. Don't try to do a brute force approach. Try to think smart and try to find this number of swapping that you'll have to do while sorting it in a smarter way, so that you don't take the brute force approach. Can you guys try this question now?
Yep.
Perfect. So I think we have a good number of questions that we have solved, and we have few questions as assignment for the next lecture. So please try to go through this, and there are few more concepts which is left in the array, which we'll try to cover in the next session. And once you're done with this seed, please give me a message on that group, and I'll send you more questions around the array. So the target is to solve as much questions as possible. So the more you guys will be able to solve, I'll try to give more and more questions. So it all depends on you guys, that how you how open you guys are and how many questions you guys can solve. Okay. In the assignment, I will only giving you the practice questions. So all the concept that is needed to solve this question will be covered in the class, so you don't have to worry. Only the practice question I'll be giving you the assignments. Any questions? Any suggestions?
No, Vishwa, just this approach is good for me. Like first we will discuss the concepts and then quickly we'll take the hints and complete the sheet like this.
Perfect. Cool, then great, man. Then have a nice weekend ahead and stay safe. Take care, guys.